For decades, when you thought about Japan's economy, one word probably came to mind: stagnant. It was like this giant that had just fallen asleep. But lately, something's been stirring. The engines are humming again. And today, we're going to take a look at Japan's great reboot.
And this quote, man, it just nails it. The doldrums. That perfectly captures those years of low growth and almost zero inflation. It really did feel like a massive ship, just stuck, no wind in its sails. But now, well, it looks like the winds have finally changed.
And that really sets up the big question for us today. Okay, so the ship is moving, and that's great. But momentum brings its own set of challenges, right? We really need to understand what's powering this journey, who's actually on deck, and what sort of stormy weather might be on the horizon.
So first, to get how this ship even started moving, we have to go below deck, down into the engine room, because this is where the first huge change is happening, a total rewiring of corporate Japan.
You got to understand, this was not an overnight fix, not at all. As this timeline shows, this has been a long, slow process, spanning more than 20 years. Different codes, new principles, they were all introduced piece by piece to slowly but surely change how Japanese companies are run from the inside out.
And here is the result of all that work. Just look at that jump. Back in 2015, having a board with a good number of independent directors was pretty rare. But by 2023, it became the standard. We're talking 95% of top companies hitting that mark. That is a massive, massive shift toward independent oversight.
So the whole point here wasn't just about ticking boxes or following rules for the sake of it. The push has been to go from formality to substance. It's really about changing the entire mindset, all aimed at making these corporate engines more efficient, more profitable, and way more transparent for investors all over the world.
Okay, so let's head up from the engine room now, because there's another seismic shift happening, not in the boardroom, but on the main deck, right at the kitchen tables of everyday people.
Just look at this number for a second. In just the first 5 months of this new program called NISA, which makes investing way more accessible, over 6.5 trillion yen flowed in. That's a 4 times increase from the year before. We're talking about a flood of money moving out of savings accounts and into the market.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating, the psychology behind it all. For so long, the vibe around investing in Japan was all negative. You'll lose money, it's too risky. But look at the new reality. Nearly 90% of these new investors are actually seeing gains. And for the younger generation, it's not about risk anymore. It's about securing their future.
And this isn't just a vibe, it's having a huge impact on people's wallets. Of the nearly 150 trillion yen increase in personal wealth, a staggering 70% of it came directly from gains in stocks and investments. The crew is learning to sail, and it's paying off.
All right, so beyond the world of finance, Japan is firing up a whole other powerful engine. This one is built on one of its greatest assets, its culture. It's like they're flying a brand new flag on the world stage.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. The whole idea of cool Japan. We're talking about massive cultural exports like anime, video games, all those iconic characters that have become this huge economic and influential force all around the globe. And the scale here is just enormous. I mean, anime alone is on track to be a $37 billion global industry by 2025. It's reaching about 800 million people worldwide. That is a cultural engine running at full blast.
But here's the catch. Here's the critical question that experts are asking. While this industry is absolutely booming, what about the people who actually create all this stuff? There's a real concern that the artists, the creators, the very source of all this cool, aren't being properly supported or invested in.
So that ocean liner is moving, and it's moving fast. You've got the engines of corporate reform, individual investment, and cultural exports all firing on all cylinders. But the voyage isn't over. The ship is now entering a narrow strait, a place where careful steering is way more important than just raw power.
And the first big rock to steer around, it's the fact that the benefits of all this new momentum, well, they aren't being shared equally. A pretty significant wealth gap is starting to open up.
So check out what this chart is showing. It's called the asset effect. Basically, when the value of stocks goes up, older households who own most of those assets see a much bigger boost in their spending. We're talking 7.5 times greater than younger households, and that just deepens the economic divide between the generations.
And here is the other side of that same coin. While assets are rising for some, for many people, their actual wages haven't kept up with inflation. And that squeezes family budgets, puts the brakes on spending, and ultimately it can slow down the whole economy.
So, getting through this strait is going to take a really steady hand.
The path forward seems to involve making sure wage gains turn into real growth, bridging that generational wealth gap, investing in the creative talent that makes cool Japan possible, and of course, steering the whole thing with a very careful, very clear fiscal compass.
So, when you boil it all down, it comes to this. After decades in the doldrums, the giant is awake. The ship is moving. There is no doubt that Japan has gotten its economic momentum back. But the real test, the true test of this great reboot, is going to be in the choices it makes right now, out here on the open seas.